Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this video we are starting off our top 10 lists for the end of the year with the top 10 Marvel Legends for 2025. Now, as I say every year, these lists are kind of tricky to come up with because there's a lot of subjectivity that goes into it, and every time I make this list I could come up with a different one if I tried multiple times. So I'm just going to come up with the best 10 figures I can come up with for whatever reasons I can. Like I said, it's very subjective. Obviously there's a lot of technical quality that goes into deciding, but when you have to pick the 10 best of a bunch of not so great figures, well, you know what, you have to grasp for those straws. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. This is the top 10 list for Marvel Legends for 2025. Alright, so I want to start this list with an honorable mention. That one is going to be Deathbird. Now, I know a lot of people had a lot of gripes with this figure because it could have been a lot better, but, also it came in a 2-pack, but also it does a lot of things really nicely. This is a good figure that's a good example of what a reasonable Marvel Legends figure should be. It's not setting any records, it's not shattering any expectations, but it's a nice, solid enough release with enough unique stuff on it, enough paint, enough sculpt, enough shelf presence that it's actually worth owning. So I think it's a good example, and that's why it's here. But then coming in at number 10, we have Feral, and the reason this figure made the list is the cleavage and no, it's because it's reasonably comic accurate. It looks enough like the source material. It's not a standout figure otherwise. It doesn't have enough sculpt work on it. It should be a lot more hairy. It should have better paint, should have better articulation, should have more accessories, like the whole deal. But it is reasonably source accurate, and we don't get enough of that. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, yeah, they did cleavage and side boob because it's technically fur and not a lady, and they got away with it like that. I'm like, yeah, maybe, and that's a stupid thing that Hasbro / Marvel / Disney is making a thing, but because of that, it is source accurate, at least for the most part, and so I like it. Now, coming in at number 9, we have another furry friend who is the cat version of Beast. And you guys know, since I just reviewed this recently, plenty of gripes with this figure, doesn't pose for crap, but the sculpt is really, really nice. This is one of the best sculpted figures they have, I think. It wouldn't have hurt the sculpt to have better articulation, and so that's why it's not higher on the list. But if you're just going to hero pose your figures, this guy's a definite contender for deserving a spot on the shelf. Sure, better paint, better finish, that kind of stuff as always, but the different face sculpts are nice, the fur is sculpted nicely, the suit, the weird girdle suit, sculpted nicely. Easily a standout on the shelf if you put him next to like 90% of Marvel Legends. Coming in at number 8, we have the 97 version of Cable, which is probably one of the best aesthetically pleasing figures they've made. It's very reasonably source accurate, and it looks really good. It has nice proportioning. The colors are accurate to the source, and not my cup of tea, but they're accurate to the source. I definitely prefer different looks for Cable than this, but this one is what it's supposed to be, and it looks really, really, really nice. Comes with enough accessories that make it a decent value. The only downside to this guy is he doesn't pose for crap. It's hard for him to even move his arms effectively in a lot of ways because of the way they did the shoulder pads, but he does look really nice, and he looks like what he's supposed to look like, so that's a big plus. Now, coming in at number 7, we have their new Punisher, and you can take either version of this body, I don't care. It's a really nice body, and it has a good comic-y look to it. It has some nice articulation. It's nothing crazy, but against most Marvel Legends, like the Vulcan body or the Sunfire body, this guy does look really nice, and both Punishers that they've used it on have turned out to be nice enough that they're probably worth owning. You can pick whichever one. I'd probably go with the darker color scheme if I had to pick one, due to the head sculpts, but yeah, the body's a really good body, and that's why it made the list. Coming in at number 6, we have the Ultimate Iron Man, and the reason this guy's on the list is because, yeah, maybe he's a little bit small and could look nicer, but it's a standout figure. Like, by most of Hasbro standards, this should be a maximum release. But it's not. It's just a regular release, and it's sculpted really nicely. It's reasonably, it's very source accurate. I do think it's probably a little bit short, but yeah, it's a good looking figure. It's going to stand out for sure against the sea of the Vulcan bodies and Sunfire bodies of Marvel Legends, and he did come at a regular price point, despite the fact that he had probably more paint than average and more sculpt as well. Coming in at number 5, we have a figure that doesn't have a ton of paint on him, or at least I should say a ton of varied paint, because he's all silver, but it's Rom, and he may not be the most popular character on this list, but the figure turned out pretty damn nice. It has a few weird issues in terms of articulation and stuff, but he's got a decent size, he's got enough accessories, and the silver paint job is just wonderful. And you might be thinking, why didn't Silver Surfer make the list then? Well, it's because he has a terrible sculpt. And this one doesn't. This one has a pretty good sculpt and looks nice. It's going to look good on a shelf. Alrighty, coming in at number 4, we have the Gamerverse Marvel vs. Capcom Venom, which is kind of a reuse with some new parts, but it's probably the best Venom they've released in terms of sculpt, and not counting like video game versions, like true video game versions or movie versions. This is the best comic sculpt for Venom I think that they've done, including the articulation. It does still have its drawbacks. It is the blue version, so it won't work for a comic version, but odds are they'll repaint it at some point. But it isn't supposed to be black. It's supposed to be blue here, so I can't fault them too much. The biggest gripe for this guy is he could use some shading, for sure, and probably more appropriately sized head and shoulders and that kind of thing. The usual Marvel Legends stuff, but he's not as bad an offender for those things as most Marvel Legends are, and it makes him stand out. He looks really good. Coincidentally, coming in at number 3, we have the Captain America that goes with him, which is probably the best version of any sort of non-movie, non-specific game version of Captain America. Again, as every figure has, there's some drawbacks, and I have to point that out because people love to be like, yeah, but you said this about that. Well, yeah, but it's still a good figure. It doesn't have to be perfect to be on a top 10 list. It's not going to happen. And this is probably the best Cap. It's my personal favorite one. I like the way they've done the articulation. He's more fun to pose. Yeah, he's got some issues with like the chest being a weird shape and stuff, and you could argue for different Caps, but I think in terms of the overall package, this is the one to go with. It's probably the best all-around, well-balanced Captain America you could get for Marvel Legends. Coming in at number 2, this is going to surprise some people, maybe even make some people mad. It's the Maximum Spider-Man, because I said a lot of bad things about this figure when it came out, but I did also say it's the best Spider-Man they've released. The problem with this figure is it has a bunch of unnecessary problems, and it is unnecessarily expensive. Those are the biggest flaws of this figure, so those leave a lot of room for the figure to still be pretty good. And it is the best Spider-Man. It's probably, you could argue Mafex, of course, but even then Mafex is more expensive and has its own set of issues. I would argue this is the best Spider-Man at 1/12 scale that doesn't have crazy Revoltech articulation. It's ridiculously overpriced for what it is, and it has the problems like I said, but I don't know that you can do much better than this at this scale. Maybe when the new one comes out from Bandai, I kind of doubt it, but this is a fun figure. It's good enough that I don't hate owning it. I hate the price, I hate the problems, I hate all of that kind of stuff. The accessories are mostly goofy, but it's still the best Spider-Man, the one that I recommend. And I did do that comparative video, so maybe you guys aren't surprised that this is here, but it is a solid figure despite its flaws. And then finally, probably to no one's surprise, we have, for number 1, the Marvel vs. Capcom Wolverine. And I'll address the hard stuff first. Yes, when he came out, his knees were discolored and he is a little bit too tall. Doesn't have a shin swivel, I don't care as much about that. But they fixed the knees, at least in one. I bought one since then, relatively recently, and the knees are all matching now, so that's good. And as I showed in my comparative video, the height's not that big of a deal. There have been other Wolverines that are taller than him. Comic Wolverines from Hasbro. Yes, he's probably a little bit tall, for sure. But otherwise, he's gorgeous. It's, I think, the best Marvel Legends figure they've made. Definitely the best sculpt. He looks the most like not a guy in cosplay out of all the Marvel Legends. It's just a really, really fun figure to handle, fun figure to look at. It represents the character probably better than any other Marvel Legends figure. It's easily my favorite Marvel Legends figure, and it's because they did a good job on it. It's not a perfect job. There's room for improvement for sure, but I don't think they've made a better release that represents the character as well as this one. There might be other figures that do certain things better, like, oh, you need a toe hinge and a boot swivel. Okay, fine. But are those figures as good at everything else as this is? I don't think so. So yeah, I think this is the best one ever. But certainly this year, I think they did a really good job. It even made the list despite the fact that it was in a 2-pack paired with a gray turd of Silver Samurai. Nothing I can do about that. It's still a better figure than everything else, according to me, and it's my list. So there it is. Alrighty guys, that's it. That's the top 10 best figures Hasbro put out in the Marvel Legends line for 2025, at least as I determined it based on whatever criteria I was coming up with as I was looking at everything they released. I did not include most movie figures, by the way, if you didn't notice that. Movie figures, things like that. But yeah, you know, it's subjective, so let me know. Do you guys agree with anything I said? Do you disagree with everything I said? Do you have a top 10 list for these guys? Let us know in the comment section below. When I say us, I mean me and everyone else. Let us know in the comment section below and we'll talk down there. But otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video, and we have many more top 10 lists coming, so stick around for those.